Good evening and welcome to episode 17. As always, let's start with gratitude attitude. So please close your eyes, take a deep breath, and as you exhale, relax your body. Take another deep breath, and as you exhale, relax some more. Take one more deep breath, and this time, completely relax yourself. Now, think of one thing which you are thankful for, which happened to you in the past 1 week. Once you have identified that, think about why you are thankful for. And now let's set it free. If you are by yourself, say it out loud what you are thankful for and why. If you are with someone, say it to each other. Okay, I just want to say something about gratitude on this Thanksgiving week. This is the week or this is the day on Thanksgiving where a lot of people think about who they are thankful for in the past year. I used to write emails to people who I was thankful for in this entire year before I retired, and it's a way of just reflecting as to what made progress for you in this year. It's a very interesting exercise, and it's worth doing it. So if you get a chance this week, try to send thank you notes to people who really made an impact in your life in the past 12 months, because that's what Thanksgiving is supposed to be beyond turkey. So now let's talk about our lesson today. Last week, when we were talking about death, the subject of mind came up briefly. So I thought we'll talk about, what mind is. And I'm sure you heard a lot about it. But before we dig into it, let's just briefly make sure what it is not. A mind is certainly not your brain. That's the biggest confusion out there. Our brain is an organ. Mind, on the other hand, does not have a physical dimension. Our mind is located in the region of our heart chakra, right at the center. Its nature is clarity. That means it is empty like clear space. And it is a formless continuum, completely lacking shape, color, and it possesses the actual power to perceive, understand, and remember objects. That means the function of the mind is to perceive or cognize objects, to understand or impute objects, right? The mind also has the power to create. Buddha used to say, mind is the creator of all. And if we think about it, it makes sense. Everything that we have in this world, someone had to create, someone had to design. Our computer, for example, before someone built it, right? Someone came up with the design of the computer. They had to think about how it may work, then put it on a piece of paper. Look at the house we are in. An architect came up with that design in their mind before creating plans for someone else to build. Our mind is also known as chitta. I'm sure you heard that term before. It is generally divided into three broad categories. First is our gross waking mind. Next, our subtle mind. And next, our very subtle mind or chitta. Our gross waking mind is the one in charge of our day-to-day activities. So everything happens, you sitting here, I'm talking, you're listening, all of that is through our gross waking mind. It allows us to function in this physical world. It controls all of our actions. Our gross waking mind is in our physical realm, meaning it knows the concept of time and space. Right? Half an hour up, we are all gone. But at night, when we fall asleep, our gross waking mind ceases to exist. It's almost like the death process. We have no clue what happens in our deep sleep, as if we didn't exist at all. During our sleep, our subtle mind takes over. So it's kind of transition, right? When we fall asleep, we are losing our sense of what's surrounding us slowly. And that transition phase is this subtle mind. And that's also the mind which controls our dreams. It also makes sure that our bodily functions are still active when we fall asleep. But that subtle mind is not conformed to our physical realm. It has no concept of time and space. It moves one place to another in a microsecond. Sometimes we remember what happens in our dream state because we are either in the process of moving from gross mind to subtle mind or other way around. In these cases, we are in a lucid state. We distinctly remember our dreams. And if you remember your dream, you would know that, 1 second you were somewhere, next second you were totally somewhere else with totally someone different person. And it may be 50 years back or it may be something which never happened, right? Our very subtle mind, on the other hand, is what we call consciousness, chitta. This is the mind that travels from lifetime to lifetime without any attachment to our body. It is mounted on our karma. And that's why our karma decides our fate. Our very subtle mind is pure mind. Our very subtle mind leaves our body at death along with our karmic winds. It has no delusions, no anger, no attachment, no hatred, nothing. It is what is known as our Buddha nature, meaning it has potential for enlightenment. And all Buddha means, by the way, I'm sure a lot of you know, is means enlightened one or awakened one, right? So every one of us has that pure potential because we all have that very subtle mind or chitta or consciousness. And when we do this meditation every day or every week, that small piece we find, maybe for 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, hopefully more, that's our very subtle mind because its nature is peace. And that's what we want to hold on to. And it should become our go to resource when delusions arise in our gross mind. So when we are awake, right, when we get angry or when we get frustrated or when we get upset, jealous, whatever attachment, when that comes up, if we are mindful about it, then we'll reach to that peace, right? Do a quick 30-second meditation, which will bring it back to a peaceful state. So what we'll do in our meditation today, before we begin there actually, I want to bring up this technique known as MAC technique. MAC. M for mindfulness. So when we are in meditation and let's say our thought starts running, right? And we bring ourselves back to that state of focus. That is mindfulness that allows us to do that. So it brings our attention back to meditation, back to stillness from thoughts. A is for alertness. Alertness is what we use to keep an eye that, hey, my mind is running away. So when we are in meditation and we are supposed to be in a stillness state and we start thinking some thoughts, alertness is the one which realizes that, hey, I'm thinking that thought, I need to bring it back. More alert we are, less the span of that time frame, right? So let's say we start meditation and we start thinking about something. And before we even think half a sentence, we realize, hey, I'm going somewhere, let's bring it back. So that means you are really fully alert. Instead, if 5 minutes goes by with that train of thoughts, that means we are not fully alert, right? So we want to develop that alertness, which keeps an eye out for our mind wandering off. And then C is for concentration. That's where we are focused on stillness so that we don't begin to start wandering around. So we use this technique every day, obviously, or every week when we use it, but we never formally named it. So that's the technique we use, mindfulness, alertness, concentration. So try to think about that in today's meditation. We'll try to imagine that our mind is a vast, bright, sunny sky, and our thoughts are like clouds, they come and go. If we are alert, we'll catch those clouds before they become dark, and then they'll disappear in vast empty sky. And then we'll hold on to that clarity of that empty sky as long as we can. So that's the plan. Let's start with getting into our meditation posture. So sit in a cross-legged position if you can. If not, keep your legs straight. Make sure your spine is erect. Your eyes gently closed. Keep your mouth just a little bit open so it relieves the tension in your jaws. Now take a deep breath. And as you exhale, relax your body. Bring your attention to the sensation of your breath. Feel the cool air going in, slightly warmer air breathing out. Spend a minute or so on your own, focusing on the sensation of your breath. Bring your attention at the center of your heart to your root mind. Imagine everything that happened before this moment just melts away in the deep blue sky. Everything that has not yet happened doesn't exist anyway. Enjoy the peace at your root mind. It's a vast, deep blue sky. Not a single cloud on the horizon. Just imagine. If you feel yourself thinking a thought, Just observe it like a cloud in the deep blue sky, and it will disappear. If your mind is running away with a train of thoughts, please go back to your breath sensation for about 5 to 10 breaths. Continue to concentrate on the stillness of deep blue sky. Use your alertness to catch yourself thinking of a thought and your mindfulness to come back to concentration. Again, if you find yourself thinking of a thought, just observe it like a cloud and it will disappear. If your thoughts are carrying you somewhere else, please come back. Focus on your breath for about 5 or 10 breaths and begin concentration. Enjoy the peace at your root mind. Let this moment of peace build the next moment, and so on. Focus on that peace single pointedly for the last minute or so. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Okay, any questions? Go ahead, Prema.
Hi, Nirabai. This is Hetal.
Hi, Ethel.
So, just connecting back to what we discussed last week.
Yeah.
So, if somebody dies in their sleep, then does it depend on what state of the three minds the person was in, which would determine their karma after death?
So when you are sleeping, your gross mind is ceased to exist. So that's not there at all.
Okay.
So at that point, you have two possibilities: either your subtle mind or your very subtle mind. Your subtle mind, if you're in deep sleep, that means it's only very subtle mind, which means perfect. You're, you will not have negative karma ripening for sure.
Okay.
Your subtle mind could be dreaming at the time of death. If that dream is some kind of negative dream, in a sense that it invokes fear in a person, like sometimes, I wake up and, you know, I'm either laughing or I'm not crying, but I'm scared, right?
Right.
So if that's a nightmare, then there is a possibility of negative karma ripening.
Okay.
So your gross mind is definitely not active when you're sleeping. Otherwise, you're just daydreaming, right?
Right. Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It's a very good concept to connect the two from last week and this week.
Yeah, yeah, it's a very interesting topic. The science is coming around to this concept that brain and mind are two different things.
Yeah, that was very enlightening to hear that the brain and mind, how they're so different when we think mean, I guess up until now, that was never thought of.
Right.
We
So
think it's kind of the same thing.
exactly. So when I used to think that I'm thinking here, but actually I'm thinking here, right?
Right,
Because mind is what, has a perception power.
right,
So brain is like your hard drive, right?
right.
Which stores all the information, and your mind's like an algorithm which goes and gets it for you.
That's a nice way to put it. That was,
I just
thank
came up with it, so hopefully it's true.
you. No, that was good. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions? Okay, well, let's stop recording.